The city of Antwerp moves out of Limerick docks, and the city's last sea link with Britain ends. For the Limerick Steamship Company, now merged into Hibernian Transport, a major phase of operations ceases after close on 100 years. For the dockers who work the port, a bleak future ahead. The 8 o'clock scene any morning as ships in port in Limerick. They call this jobbing the dockers. If you get the nod from the stevedore, you've got work for the day. If not, you join the dole queues. This is a tradition in Dockland. In 1969, it's a humiliation degrading the worker. These men have walked or cycled miles in the hope of work. 160 sought work unloading a fertiliser boat. 40 were jobbed. That's the trouble in Limerick. Too many dockers, not enough work. The trouble is that Limerick has priced itself out of the general cargo traffic. And if the port is to compete again in the future, the number of dockers must be reduced to a prominent pool of around 60. This will mean massive redundancy. Just how many will be affected, no one knows for sure. Incredibly, there is no official register of dockers. The number is probably around 300, but because dockers hold their cards for life, some of those on the books are thought to be working in Coventry, Birmingham, Shannon and elsewhere. But no one really knows.
These dockers come in the morning and they cycle maybe 2 or 3 miles into their work. Hail, rain and snow. And then they arrive below at the Limerick dock gate and they're told, you go home, I want you, you go home, I want you. And here it is. Now, if there's to be any prosperity or if there's to be any security which we're all looking for in employment at the present time, we must take this whole problem into our 2 hands. And away back in...
But it's too late already, would you think?
I'd say the horse is gone. Well, if he's not gone, he's on his way out. And anybody with one eye open and the other half closed could have seen it. That was coming.
But you're a member of the Limerick Harbour Board.
I am.
And you must bear responsibility as much as anybody else for the fact that you didn't face up to your responsibilities before now.
Because we were bound to secrecy.
But all the time the port was declining.
It was. And we all knew it.
The Commissioner's responsibility is laid down in the 1946 Harbours Act and is limited to the provision of facilities that would make it easier for the dockers and the port users to work. In other words, their sole function is literally to provide amenities to make employment easier and to make working at the docks more efficient from the point of view of providing services and equipment.
There has never been a strike here, but it reflects no credit on those who use and control the port. Handling costs are 8 times greater in Limerick than at Waterford, with which it is in direct competition, and a fall-off in general cargo traffic was inevitable. There has never been a policy formulated towards dock labour. Agreements have been conducted on an ad hoc basis at the quayside without any overall regard for the consequences. The Limerick Harbour Board, seeing themselves restricted from direct involvement in labour relations by the 1946 Harbours Act, instead concentrated on the provision of facilities for the port users. In recent years, they spent £210,000 on this. But there is not much point in a fine port without cargo ships to use it. And that's exactly what's happening.